Hi, good evening. This is Teacher Rica, and what we are going to discuss tonight is how to add integers. Now, this type of discussion is more of a review rather than an introduction to addition of integers. How do we add 5 and 8? The sum is 13. 6 plus 11, that's 17. 9 plus 15, it's 24. 24 plus 35, it's 59. How about if we have negative 3 plus negative 2? The answer is negative 5. Negative 12 plus negative 9, its sum is negative 21. Negative 32 plus negative 8, it's negative 40. And negative 24 plus negative 13, it's negative 37. So if we have two addends with the same sign, we simply add and copy the sign. So two positive integers, the sum is a positive integer. And the sum of two negative integers is also a negative integer. How about if there are more than two addends? 3 plus 6 plus 7 plus 9. So you simply add them all, which is 25. How about if we have negative 7 plus negative 1 plus negative 8? So when you add negative 7 plus negative 1, that's negative 8. Plus negative 8, it will give you negative 16. Now, the sum of opposite numbers is 0. For example, 5 plus negative 5 is 0. Negative 11 plus 11 is 0. 17 plus negative 17 is also 0. So 5 and negative 5, negative 11 plus negative 11 and 11, 17 and negative 17 are examples of opposite numbers. Now, before we proceed with addition of numbers with different signs, how do we get the absolute value of a number? Or what's the absolute value of a number? It's the distance of the number from 0 along the number line. So if we're given a number line just like in here, in which the symbol of absolute value is the one shown, the absolute value of 8 is 8. Why did we get 8? Or how did we get 8? That means 8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is 8 units away from 0. What's the absolute value of negative 9? So from negative 9 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So negative 9 is 9 units away from 0. The absolute value of negative 23 is 23. The absolute value of 14 is 14, and the absolute value of negative 33 is 33. So that means when we get the absolute value, we are simply asking how far is the number away from 0. Okay, so let's have addition of numbers with two different signs, or addition of two numbers with different signs. What's the sum of negative 4 and 9? So you simply get the difference. When you subtract the 2, you'll get 5. And what will be the sign of the sum? So you follow the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. What's the absolute value of negative 4? That's 4. What's the absolute value of 9? It's 9. So 9 is greater than negative 4, or the absolute value of 9 is greater than the negative 4, and the sign of 9 is positive. That's why the sum here is positive 5. How about if we have negative 31 plus 24? So you get the difference. The difference, when you subtract the 2, it will give you 7. And what is the sign of 7? Which one has a greater absolute value? The absolute value of negative 31 is 31. The absolute value of 24 is 24. So the absolute value of negative 31 is greater than the absolute value of 24. And what's the sign of this? That's negative. That's why the sum is negative also. So that gives us negative 7 here. What is 5 plus negative 19? So you get the difference. The difference is 14 when you subtract 5 and 19. Now what will be the sign of 14? Which one has a greater absolute value? So negative 19 has a greater absolute value and its sign is negative. That's why the sum is negative 14. How about 42 plus 200? I mean 42 plus 20. So you get the difference between the two, that would be 22. And which one has a greater absolute value? It's 42. And what's the sign of 42? Positive. That's why the sum here is positive 22. The sum of two integers with different signs. How do we get them? Get the difference and copy the sign of the integer with the larger absolute value. How about if there are more than two addends? So you can regroup or you can group them. So you can add this 2 here first. Negative 8 plus negative 5 will give you negative 13 and then add it to 9. Since they have different signs, you get the difference. When you subtract 13 and 9, you'll get 4, right? And copy the sign of the number with a greater absolute value. That's why it's negative 4 here. If we have 16 plus 7 plus negative 11 plus 24, you can group all of the addends with the same sign. So when you get the sum, that's 47, and then add it to negative 11. Since they are of different signs, you get the difference, which is 36. And what is the sign of 36? Since 47 has a greater absolute value and its sign is positive, that's why the sum is positive 36. Now, if the integer is positive, we do not write the positive sign anymore because it's understood that the number is positive unless it's negative. So for your exercise, you find the sum of the following. Now that ends the discussion about addition of integers. I hope this helped you in reviewing your lessons. Goodbye everyone and see you for the next lesson.